Of Friends and Sisters. Chapter 1, only chapter. Bonds. She managed to ignore the first set of knocks, even the second.
They'll get to you fences eventually, surely.
The 57th and 58th, however, were rather insistent.
Or maybe not.
On the 59th, she looked at the clock sitting on the table beside her bed, sighed loudly enough to startle into wakefulness some of her more timid animals. Fluttershy crawled languidly out from under the covers, yawning as she did so. She grabbed her robe from where she had perched earlier over a stool, and headed downstairs whilst fastening the cord around herself hurriedly. Small critters of various species looked at her intently, alarmed by the unaccustomed look of displeasure darkening her muzzle. Wisely they kept out of her way as she approached the door, taking sure to light the candle that sat on a chest of drawers in the hallway to provide some illumination on things. First I got the impression that hoping for anything right now was futile, but she did so, anyway, wishing for things without any kind of reward had, up until recently that is, been something of her lot in life, though she liked to think that right now on the path to connecting her earlier unassertive behavior. She blinked several times at quick suggestion, feeling her eyelids growing markedly heavier after each one. The fruitless belief that the prismatic maiden Pegasus with the sign coat darkening her hallway would either turn out to be a product of her sleep-deprived deprivation, or, better yet, be real, but get the hint that now was not a good time for a chat about who the best Wonderbolt was. It seemed that Rainbow Dash, unfortunately, was determined to stay resolutely put until she was invited inside, or Doomsday, whichever came first. From her rather fretful, visiting demeanor, Fluttershy knew that something was bothering her. She immediately felt bad for having wanted to get rid of her, and her ridiculous assumption it was going to be something trivial.
Won't he come in?
She eventually asked politely as she could, gesturing to the causes of fighting interior with a hoof. While waiting for an answer, she rubbed at the heavy gunk forming a filmy layer over her eyes, and cleared away the worst of it. At least Rainbow Dash had the good sense to be abashed at her unannounced arrival so late at night. She grimaced slightly at Fluttershy's disheveled appearance, realizing that, as Rarity would no doubt say, there's a difference between imposition and outright rudeness. Still, in Rainbow Dash's opinion, the random, spiky tufts of Fluttershy's mane and tail that shot out in every conceivable direction was actually a good look for her. Though she doubted she'd be able to convince her to try it out for a few days, she stuck at the welcoming mat with a foreleg. I'm really sorry about this, but I didn't want to wait until the morning to speak to anybody. I just kept tossing and turning in bed. Feel like my head was going to explode unless I got it all out somehow. Rainbow Dash smiled anxiously. Anyway, cut a long story short, yours was the first name I thought of when I realized I needed help. The flattery definitely helped Fluttershy forget about her cross mood. She felt the ghost of a smile begin to form at the corners of her muzzle. She did her best to push aside the rest of her irritation. It was easy for her and the others to forget that sometimes, just as Pinkie Pie couldn't help being Pinkie Pie, Rainbow Dash could not help being Rainbow Dash. Sure, she could be something of an insensitive jerk at times. That said, she definitely got a lot better about her indifference to anything that didn't immediately concern her over the years. But she wasn't in the habit of waking up ponies in the middle of the night without having a good darn reason. Briefly, Fluttershy's mind flicked back to the events of the opening day of sire season, as he admitted that little thought to,
Without having a darn good reason, most of the time.
settling slightly to one side, tightening her gown against the cool breeze that whistled through Ponyville as she did so. Fluttershy inclined her head to the direction of the cozy living room of her home.
You know where everything is.
Wiping her hose on the doormat, there was, after all, only so much impoliteness one pony could stand for having one evening. Rainbow Dash cast her cerise eyes about the hallway as he stepped inside. The flickering amber glow from the candle that Fluttershy had lit cast some alarming shadows as the creatures of the night infesting the house made their skittering about, giving her a moment's pause as she passed through it. The living room was equally ill lit, and Rainbow Dash let out a yelp of irritation as she smacked her head into something low-hanging and solid. Turned out to be a treehouse. Aren't those supposed to be, outside? Rainbow Dash asked in annoyance, rolling her eyes at the direction of the offending item, whilst rubbing her bruised forehead gingerly.
I was mending it,
Fluttershy said lamely, though she tried to cover her mouth to stifle a giggle. Lighting a couple of additional lanterns added a welcoming warmth and suffused the sulky room.
Sit, please,
She said to Rainbow Dash, indicating the sofa.
Would you like something to drink? Twilight brought a brand new tea from the Crystal Empire. It's supposed to be good for the frayed nerves.
Thinking for a moment, Rainbow Dash shook her head quickly. Between the choices of tea, coffee, or hot chocolate, she'd rather have cider, but she doubted Fluttershy had any on hoof.
No thanks, I'm good.
Fluttershy sat opposite Rainbow Dash, studying her pensive expression as best she could in the soft orange light. If she had been an animal in her care, she no doubt would have been able to figure out what was bothering them no problem. But ponies were significantly more complex creatures. Their conflicting behaviors made them difficult for Fluttershy to understand at the best of times. Whereas Rainbow Dash was not impossible. Oh, sure, she would certainly know all about it if she was excited, but other emotional states, ones that she kept hidden and liked to pretend she didn't have, were a mite trickier to discern. Silence reigned, smoothing down her mane just to give herself something to do. Fluttershy studied Rainbow Dash's eyes, the way she filled her hooves, the way her hind legs endlessly droop.
So, what do you want to talk about, Rainbow Dash?
She finally asked when she realized that her friend was not going to open to talking, despite having the one who flown all the way from, well, whatever her cloudomania was currently parked to consult with her. All of a sudden, Rainbow Dash had difficulty maintaining eye contact with Fluttershy. She suddenly found the floorboards and the pattern of swirling striations incredibly interesting. She focused them on while bumping the hooves of her forelegs together.
Words, feelings, and all that stuff? So not my scene. How do I put this so she understands what the heck I'm talking about? Oh, you remember that camping trip I went on with Applejack, Rarity, and her sisters a while back?
I remember,
replied Fluttershy, inclining her head slowly. She had to be careful because, every time she felt her head leaning forward, tiredness threatened to overwhelm her.
Well,
Rainbow Dash's hoof wavered uncertainly in the air as he what happened.
on the way to Winston's Fall, Scootaloo let it slip that dumb. She thinks of me as a big sister figure, basically.
that's good, isn't it?
Fluttershy said suddenly, going back to full wakefulness by this development. Until recently, most ponies would have characterized Rainbow Dash as lacking in sentimentality. But her experiences with Tank had betrayed a strong streak of compassion that was not always so evident that Nodes did not know her well. That said, there was a world of difference between an elderly turtle who had shown a remarkable knack for loyalty, something Rainbow Dash prized above all else, and a young filly who was just beginning to find her way from the world.
You must be really happy when she told you that.
Sure, it's great,
replied Rainbow Dash, somewhat absently. Off Fluttershy's looks, he hastily added,
No, really, it is. I'm not playing flippant for once. It's just that...
She let out a slow breath, meeting her friend's eyes, her own growing moist.
I'm not exactly sure what I'm supposed to do about it, you know? Scootaloo's a great kid. Funny, brave, talented, smart. Way smarter than I am, anyway. I want to give her all the help I can.
But
What do I know about being any pony's sister?
Rainbow Dash said plaintively. Her voice cracking was more than it normally did, as she allowed some of her more deeply buried feelings to come to the surface. Only in Fluttershy's presence did she feel comfortable doing this, knowing she would never mock or belittle her for it.
She reminds me so much of myself at that age. Convinced she can only see her way through any problem with enough speed, no matter what her dreams are, whether they ultimately involve fighting or not. I want to be there when she realizes them. I want to play a part in achieving them.
She flashed Fluttershy a morose look.
I wish I knew what the right thing to do is.
Keeping her vivid blue eyes trained on Rainbow Dash, Fluttershy leaned forward and spoke seriously.
sisterhood is a sacred bond. It's not one that should be entered into lightly, because it's not something that's easily broken, Rainbow Dash. It would mean that, forever and ever, you and Scootaloo would hold a very dear place in each other's hearts. You think of the friendships between ourselves and the others as deep, then sisterhood is on a whole other level to that.
Deeper than friendship?
Curious expression crossed Rainbow Dash's muzzle. She pondered that one. To her way of thinking, the relationships that had grown between herself, Fluttershy, Twilight Sparkle, and the others were already intense. It was difficult, slightly terrifying, to imagine that there could be something else, a bond that was even more solemn. She was accustomed for feeling fear, or at least consciously admitting to experiencing it from time to time, but she was now so deep in her bones.
What if I screw things up and let Fluttershy down?
I didn't mean to frighten you.
Fluttershy said with a small smile, as she got to her thoughts in order, watching the unaccustomed play of emotions cross Rainbow Dash's face with interest.
Occasionally having a sister means they'll drive you crazy. They'll make you want to tear your mane out of frustration. But more than any pony in the world, they'll be there for you. They'll pick you up when you're down, and they'll make you feel as though you're a giant when you're happy. They'll inspire you in ways that you could scarcely imagine. They'll make you want to become the pony you've always wanted to be.
I could do inspirational at least.
Rainbow Dash said lightly, unsure as to when she ever heard Fluttershy speaking so passionately on the subject that had nothing to do with animals. She rubbed the back of her neck anxiously, wishing desperately that her much-needed clarity was at hoof. But instead, she felt it was even more mired in mud. The job of being a big sister had a lot of responsibility attached to it, and she did not think of herself as being the right pony for it.
There's still so much I have to learn. How can I possibly teach somebody else? I don't think I'm ready, or will ever be for that kind of pressure.
Her eyes glowing warmly in the lantern light, Fluttershy seemed to be somewhere else entirely as she said,
We agreed to this. Fluttershy will be looking for you to guidance about everything. Not just when it comes to flying or to wonderbolts, or where you can get the base safe rides in Equestria.
She saw her friend alongside grin.
Young ponies often look to their older siblings for advice about, well, life in general.
Not their parents?
Fluttershy shook her head.
Parents tend to sugarcoat things. Siblings, however, give you the full, unvarnished truth about everything.
Everything, like, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, definitely not my style at all.
Rainbow Dash made a disgusted face and stuck out her tongue, an obvious distaste of what she was being asked to potentially do.
And I don't even get hazard pay?
This time Fluttershy was unable to suppress her giggle, and she laughed heartily into her hoof for a moment, sleepiness fulfilling her mirth. As recovered, she said,
You're really silly if you want my honest opinion. Scootaloo couldn't have made a finer choice in selecting you as a big sister. And if you accepted her offer, you'd be terrific at it.
How can you be so sure about that?
Rainbow Dash asked, her mouth contorting into a frown as she fought off the sigh that threatened to escape her.
It's, to me, like the Sonic Rain Boom all over again. I should be able to do it. I mean, it's definitely technically possible, but I don't always get it right, even when I practice.
She looked at Fluttershy intently, hoof dangling in the air.
It's like something's missing.
Leaning forward again, Fluttershy stroked Rainbow Dash's cheek. It was so like her friend to have all this doubt and uncertainty clouding her judgment. She was so used to knowing what she wanted to do. It was ultimately the wrong thing. She felt a heaviness at her heart, wishing she could do something to make Rainbow Dash see how right this would be for her.
I can be so sure because, over the years, you've been a great sister to me.
Rainbow Dash made a face, and Fluttershy promptly set her eyes, wishing she could take back the words.
Fluttershy,
Oh, Celestia, I'm sorry.
Said Fluttershy quickly, sinking back against the chair, and studiously avoiding Rainbow Dash's piercing gaze.
That was incredibly dumb. I don't know why I did that. I'm so sorry.
Her face flushed brightly enough that crimson hue was visible even in the low candlelight. Policies continued to issue forth until she got herself back under some control.
I didn't mean to embarrass you just now, Rainbow Dash. Just trust me when I say that. She accepts Scootaloo as your little sister. She couldn't ask for a better pony to learn from.
She hoped the conversation would end now, and Rainbow Dash would leave. They would never, ever speak of this night again. Once again, it was not her night when it came to wishing things.
you,
Rainbow Dash hesitated, swallowing slowly.
see me as a sister too?
The red tube color intensified. First, I wanted to run or fly as far away as she could, but she felt rooted to the spot by huge, clanking chains carved from her own idiocy. Finally, she nodded slowly. Well, it was pointless trying to retrench what she said now, wasn't it? Long moments passed before Rainbow Dash felt able to work her throat again. She found herself in a rather odd position, having gone, in the space of a few short days, from having no sisters to suddenly finding herself with two of them.
Am I that much of a moron? I just never noticed these things? Or is everybody really good at hiding things from me? Fluttershy?
Look, I totally get you don't feel the same way I do about this, and that's okay.
Fluttershy said, hardly desperately to ward off any further chagrin. Rainbow Dash with half-lidded eyes, she added,
This is just my perspective on things. Ever since we were fillies, ever since we first met at flight school, you've always been there for me whenever I needed you. You protected me from the bullies. You looked after me when I was sad. You encouraged me to break out of my shell and become a better flyer. You inspired me to become a better friend. If it wasn't for your influence, I'd still be afraid of my own shadow. And never mind dragons.
Her bangs conspired to hide her eyes from that moment.
I wouldn't have been able to go on all those adventures if it hadn't been for you by my side.
In the same way that clouds eventually parted to reveal the sun, in that moment Rainbow Dash's equally as scared thoughts suddenly crystallized to reveal the self-evident truth that had been staring her face in all these years, despite her obliviousness. Fluttershy had always been there for her too, hadn't she? Cheering her to the best of her ability, helping her to choose a pet, mending fences whenever she had a tiff with some pony, lending an ear whenever she was troubled by something.
Maybe,
She said, rubbing her chin silverly.
just maybe I do feel the same way as you, Fluttershy.
You don't have to say that just to make me feel better, Rainbow Dash.
I'm not. I'm really not.
Replied Rainbow Dash. Self-doubt and panic were Fluttershy's go-to methods of building a wall between her and what she did not wish to face. Though she had been improving over the years, still difficult to break her out of the habits of a lifetime. She did not intend her to do so now.
Promise I'm not lying. I just didn't see it before.
What do you mean?
Asked Fluttershy, dabbing at her eyes with her hoofs. Rainbow Dash's expression became thoughtful.
I came to you for advice about sisters. I could have gone to Applejack or Rarity, both of whom do have sisters, and they're very close to you. But I still came to you instead of them. Maybe our special bond, if we do indeed have one, told me you were the right pony for the job. And it would be able to offer me a more,
She tutted, scratching her nose with the tip of her wing as she tried to find the right word.
An unsuitable mental view?
Said Fluttershy.
yeah, that's it,
Replied Rainbow Dash, nodding eagerly.
Sure, Applejack and Rarity argue and fight with their sisters all the time, but they will have gone on for hours about just how much they love them, and how great they are all the same. You, on the other hoof,
Would give you the full, unvarnished truth about everything?
Again, Rainbow Dash nodded, smiling broadly.
exactly.
Fluttershy smiled thinly. Barbara couldn't help but feel that Rainbow Dash was just trying to cheer her up. But that wasn't exactly what good sisters did. Rainbow Dash may have been a pony with flaws, but her heart was always in the right place. Fluttershy could not visit her fillyhood years as being as fulfilling as they were without her protection and guidance.
Maybe you're right.
Or maybe you knew that I was the only pony in Ponyville. We'll let you in at this hour without hollering at you.
Rainbow Dash tried and failed not to giggle at that. I hear a smirk with her outstretched legs.
Touche.
She said, conceding Fluttershy's point.
That's the word, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I need to stop hanging around Twilight before I catch her egg-headedness.
More seriously, Rainbow Dash said.
I'll probably make a lot of mistakes with Scootaloo. I might accidentally give her terrible advice, or pursue her to a situation that she's not ready for, or just generally screw things up for her.
We'll always be there to help you.
Fluttershy said earnestly.
You should definitely speak to Applejack and Rarity about their experiences. But all of us will do your best for you, Rainbow Dash.
Thanks, Fluttershy.
Rainbow said to embrace her friend and sister.
You're welcome,
She said, returning the hug enthusiastically. Rainbow Dash had ended up staying up for another hour, finally taking Fluttershy on her offer to try the tea, before eventually heading home to catch a quick nap before weather duty began in a few hours. Fluttershy was glad to see her living, looking much more positive than she had arrived. She was confident that Rainbow Dash would, in fact, adopt Scootaloo as her little sister. For her part, Fluttershy found herself unable, at least unwilling, to sleep, and was soon drawn to an old, battered old chest that timidly sat at the back of her cupboard. So nondescript was it, it was often hidden by books, clothes, games, and the mounds of animal-related paraphernalia that habitually littered her cottage, that even she managed to forget about its existence sometimes. Sometimes. Her talk with Rainbow Dash, however, stirred up some old feelings. She hadn't looked inside the chest in years, never really thought about it, so she dug it out of its little cubby hole as patiently as reverently she could manage. Amazingly, in spite of how long it had been spent forgotten and unused, Fluttershy found to her surprise that the chest opened as easily as if it were brand new. The key fell smoothly into the lock, and tumblers were turned only to delicate clicks. Angel Bunny, asleep at the foot of the bed, was suddenly awake as he heard the latch unfasten. He eyed his corner with his breast, and Fluttershy felt his tiny paws prying insistently at her flank. The butterflies deflated there, ironically matching those playing merrily havoc with her stomach at the moment.
Are you sure about this?
Angel seemed to be asking with his eyes. Stroking his raised ears, Fluttershy favored the often cantankerous rabbit with a reassuring smile.
It's all right. I need to do this, okay? I need to remember. I'll be fine, I promise.
Hesitating a moment, Angel Bunny eventually nodded once, then curled himself beside Fluttershy's tail.
I'm here if you need me.
Thank you.
Not every pony understood Angel. Fluttershy often didn't either, despite her abilities, but she knew he was a kindly rabbit at heart, and outside her pony friends, it was probably the one being in Equestria she felt closest to. She shook her head to stay away to strange thoughts, resettling her attention back on the chest. She winced at the sound of its creaking hinges, but Angel didn't stir, so she lifted up the rest of the way. It sounded worse than it was in the inky stillness of her bedroom, with only the moon and a few candles to ward off the encroaching darkness. First I scanned the plethora of items contained within. Souvenirs, mementos, a few reminders of her home in Cloudsdale from before she relocated to Ponyville in order to follow her Kmart's calling. It took her a few more moments to find the items she was interested in. She let out a reflexive sigh as she spied it and took it in her hoof. The much faded photograph depicted a lovely summer's day in Cloudsdale. In a park, like much of the city's landscape, was fastened for the gossamer wisps of clouds. 5 figures stood next to an ice cream stand, smiling cheesy grins for the camera. 4 of them paying a side, and a rather out-of-place earth pony. Unbidden tears dripped down on the photo as she glanced at the lanky green feeling, her beaming muzzle smeared with chocolate. Though her smile was genuine, even in this moment of happiness, Fluttershy could see the pain lurking in her eyes. Though it wasn't a common occurrence, it was by no unusual for parents belonging to one pony race to have children of another. Ancestries were so mixed that there was always a recessive gene or two lurking in every pony's family tree. It certainly made for an interesting domestic life when Earth ponies suddenly found themselves raising a unicorn, or Pegasi found themselves faced with a near insurmountable task of trying to support an Earth pony. Her parents had done their best to make her feel at home in the clouds. It wasn't years later that Fluttershy realized how far they had gone, finding such a powerful unicorn to cast a cloud walking spell on her, modifying the house so there was no danger of her charging through any of the walls accidentally. As she had gotten older, though, it became increasingly apparent she was not happy. They learned from a few experts that deprived of their ability to roam and walk the land, Earth ponies quickly became restless, and depressed as their innate talents went to waste. She did not feel at home in the skies. The teaching she received at school and around town did not help matters. It only cemented in their parents' mind that a decision must be known to be inevitable. Broke their hearts to do so, and a bit older than ideal. Ponies looking to adopt preferred younger foals, as they didn't have much of a chance to imprint on their parents. But they found a willing foster family for her on the ground. Fluttershy hadn't understood at the time why they couldn't all go, not able to comprehend that, for her parents and brother, a life on the surface would be an anathema to them, as life in the air was for her sister. When she left with them, Fluttershy made a solemn vow that, since she was strong enough for her to do so, she would slip down to the farm that she had moved to and surprise her. Fate, sadly, had other ideas. They received regular letters from her, some addressed to Fluttershy personally. She always loved hearing from her sister, especially about her reactions to the strange and often arcane customs of the ground dwellers. She spoke with excitement about how something called the Harvest Festival, an event of great significance to Earth ponies. It was the last time Fluttershy ever heard from her. She had tried to go on with her life as best she could, but the distraction of wandering became with her sister, and seriously interrupted her flight training, and was soon relegated to the bottom of the class. If it hadn't been for Rainbow Dash's friendship providing some of Lightline, Fluttershy had no idea how she could have gone through that time at all.
Something will come in the morning. It has to.
She told herself for more than a year. Fluttershy made a noise in the back of her throat, tears welling up in her eyes as she recalled those horrible days. The imagery was still as vivid as ever, which was why she fought so hard to forget about this chest and contents. So many days had been spent uselessly waiting by the mailbox. Her parents were about the sweetest ponies alive, and they did not deal well with confrontation. Fluttershy approached them angrily, desperate to know what had happened, but they were evasive whenever the subject was broached. They became defensive, trying to deflect her attention away, suggesting her sister was simply too busy with the strenuous demands of a life on the ground to write home more often. One night, Fluttershy had been unable to sleep. She could hear her parents talking in hushed whispers in the kitchen. Though she may not have been the best flyer in Equestria, she was certainly good at going unnoticed, being able to creep up on the door without them hearing her.
We have to tell her one of these days.
I know, but how? Zippy's absolutely devastated, replied her father. She's such a sensitive soul. They wanted to wait for the best time to break the news to her. Between her failing grades, constant bullying, and near ostracization by Pegasus society, they had never been able to bring themselves to tell Fluttershy that her sister had died in a farming accident. The guilt had been the worst thing to deal with. The terrible thought that if she just stayed in Cloudsdale, she would be alive now. As a result of this knowledge, Fluttershy became even more insular and withdrawn, almost to the point of becoming a recluse. Her parents tried to encourage her, but they were dealing with their own grief, so her scholastic failures continued until she was close to flunking out of flight school altogether. That is, until Rainbow Dash gave her the much-needed kick in the flank she needed. She could never, ever replace her real sister. But Fluttershy trusted this surrogate who had come into her life in a burst of poetic fury. Brass, confident and cocky, Rainbow Dash was everything she was not. Soon became even more than a friend. She was a salve for a wound that would never heal. Something that, unknowingly, she continued to add to us this day. Eventually, Fluttershy found the courage to contemplate her sister's death without grief. Sadness would linger as part of her soul forever. But it was a sadness diluted by the knowledge that her spirit continued to live on in another form. Fluttershy's foreign eyes lay on an airblock photo. In it, Rainbow Dash had her face pressed up against hers, pulling a silly face and grinning a goofy grin. There was an audience, even if it was only a camera and a rather harried camera pony. Rainbow Dash would show off for him. Fluttershy couldn't help but laugh, despite the pressure she felt building up behind her eyes.
It was just so typical of her.
Quietly, she struck the photo and tenderly said,
Please, my friend, don't ever think yourself unworthy of the great honor Scootaloo has bestowed upon you. You're the best sister that any pony could ever ask for.
Oh, this was so sweet. Oh.
And technically, this was technically Flutter Dash because, hey, this had Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash in a type of relationship. But hey, I love Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash's relationship so much that you can pull this type of stuff off.
Oh, this is so good.
If I have a few complaints, it's that there was a little abuse of the comma here and there, and I do feel like some of the dialogue was over dramatic, especially Farshide's line at the end of going,
Please, my friend, don't ever think yourself unworthy.
That sounded less like Fluttershy and more like Fluttershy was trying to sign out for Shakespeare in the park.
Please, my friend, don't ever think yourself unworthy of the great honor Scootaloo has bestowed upon you. You are the best sister any pony could ever ask for.
But you know what? I think I'm just gonna throw that out the window. Well, that was done. Who's up for a really good classic dark fic? Sit back and hold your sights as we go into, well, hit the trailer. His arrival was foretold. One day, he will return. You know this, Luna. I know. War was coming on the horizon. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Nihilus. He will steal friendship.
Little ponies, you don't realize the world of suffering you have entered.
And she will destroy loyalty. Rainbow Dash, when you see her, you will kill Piggy Pie. World will end. I can't believe all this. We're supposed to fight this? Wars will change them.
Everything I own, everything I could hope to accomplish, all gone.
And 6 will stand against the greatest threats they have met. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Esteem. I am Merity's father. One of the many stories that helped inspire Fall of Starfleet. A classic that has disappeared from YouTube. It's now made its return. Now, we present to you the Immortal Game!
Oh, and for those of you who are wondering, no, Trixie's not in this fic. No, she is nowhere near the Immortal Game. Trixie's nowhere to be seen. And yes, this ticks Trixie off immensely.
Trixie, calm down.
Trixie will not calm down. They put in so many powerful unicorns, and Trixie was not in it.
See you next week, every pony.